Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in today's video, we are checking out some brand new information relating to the next Bendy game, The Cage. Yesterday, Joey Drew Studios launched the Steam store page for Bendy the Cage, which contains our first details about the game, as well as a selection of brand new screenshots, which show us a little of what we can expect from this darker, more horror-focused entry in the franchise. In this video, we're going to be going over all of this new information, so sit back, relax, and let's begin by reading through the synopsis. According to the Steam page, Bendy the Cage is a first-person psychological horror game that takes place during the events of Bendy and the Dark Revival. The shadows are closing in. Fight the madness before it's too late. Bendy the Cage is the fearful story of Henry and his escape from the Keeper prison known as the Pit. The darkest souls have been banished to this deep hellscape of metal and blood. Survival will require you to fight the madness before it devours you whole. So from this synopsis about the game, we can tell that this latest adventure through the inky world of Joey Drew Studios will once again put players in control of Bendy and the Ink Machine's main protagonist, Henry Stein. And not only that, it will focus on darker horror themes and a more mature psychological approach to the subject. We are also told to expect encounters with the darkest souls of the studio, monstrous inhabitants imprisoned deep within its depths in what appears to be a more fleshed out version of the Pit environment we briefly encountered as Audrey during the events of Dark Revival. It seems the story will follow Henry as he frees the other prisoners and makes sure everything is in place for Audrey to break the cycle. The telling of a story previously hinted at, but never seen until now. We have also been given a rough release date of 2024, which is pretty exciting as it seems The Cage is coming a lot sooner than we may have expected. Now it's hard to know when in 2024 we will see this new Bendy game release, but considering the game is available for wishlist right now, it may not be too far away. Now we've looked into the details shared on the Steam page, so let's turn our attention to a selection of new screenshots and quickly analyse them to see what extra information we can gather about Bendy the Cage. The first screenshot was previously released, and I in fact have a short video breaking down this image already posted on the channel. But to quickly summarise, it shows a lost one, but unlike any we have seen before. A saw-like trap, used to perhaps mind control or simply torment the poor soul, has been strapped to its head. This hinting at horrifying experiments that may have befallen those imprisoned in the depths of the pit. The inky skin has been stripped away, and we can see the bone of the skull clearly on display. The body also appears to have blood seeping from it, suggesting this new Bendy game will contain mild elements of gore. To the right of this image we can see Henry's faithful axe, though it is now far more detailed in appearance and appears to have been fashioned from various objects that came to hand. The location of this image seems to be set within some kind of access tunnel, and we can see vegetation growing on the walls and ceilings. The second image is interesting, as it highlights something I had previously not noticed about this spin-off game, and that is a change in art style. When looking to the edges of objects, you'll notice that they now contain thick black outlines. While Bendy's art style has always featured black lines to mimic a hand-drawn cartoon appearance, the lines have never been so bold or used to highlight everything, including enemies. This new look almost gives the game a more cel-shaded appearance than before. Whether this style is to be adopted by future Bendy games or instead is something specific to The Cage remains to be seen. The environments themselves also feature less hand-drawn detail and instead seem to adopt more standard-looking textures, almost a hybrid between realism and comic book visuals. This may tie into the story itself, as Wilson was the architect of the pit, and therefore this industrial look may have been his interpretation of creation within the world of the Ink Machine. Now outside of a change to art style, we can also see the Lost One standing in the centre of the room is holding some kind of bladed weapon, one that looks similar to a buzzsaw. This visceral looking tool is something we wouldn't normally expect to see in the world of Bendy, and is once again true to the promise of The Cage being an altogether darker and more brutal experience. We also see Henry's own weapon is an ink-splattered pipe, perhaps something he has ripped from a wall to use as a makeshift way of defending himself until he upgrades to something more deadly, like the axe. From the barred walls and gates, it seems this environment takes place deep within the pit itself, in the halls of a prison cell block. There's not too much to say about Screenshot 3, as it is purely an environmental showpiece, set outside the prison in the depths of the studio below the Keeper factory. Once again, it clearly shows off the change in art style, this time highlighting a more washed out and gritty looking colour palette, more brownish muddy yellows as opposed to the bright yellows of Ink Machine, and more bluish hue used throughout Dark Revival. It seems this is where Henry will make his way into the prison ward to try and free some old friends who will then help him save Audrey and break the cycle. The next screenshot is one of the coolest for longtime fans, as it confirms the return of fan favourite antagonist Sammy Lawrence, after his short cameo appearance in Dark Revival. This time Sammy makes a return in a big way, at least according to Bendy co-creator The Meatly, who took to Twitter to make the following statement. Sammy Lawrence will play a more major role in the story of Bendy the Cage. I can confirm this for sure. He will be restored to his Chapter 2 creepy glory. Can I get an amen? So Sammy Lawrence returns for a major role in the story and will be returned to his creepy glory. However, I do wonder, given the circumstances these cycle breakers now find themselves in, whether Henry and Sammy may join forces to break free from the prison and exact revenge on Wilson, who now rules over their inky domain. Only time will tell, but we can see that Sammy appears to have access to the axe that Henry can later be seen using. So maybe Sammy agrees to exchange this weapon for his freedom, or maybe Henry has to take it by force. For now, we'll have to wait and see when the Cage launches later this year. The fifth and final screenshot shows off a very cool and requested combat feature, blocking. We can see Henry holding up the axe to shield himself from the oncoming blow of this lost one. The ability to block will allow for more defensive combat options and tactical gameplay. Enemies may well have more health now, and so choosing when to block and when to attack will be key to survival. I always felt the ability to block or parry attacks and stagger enemies was the one element missing that could really improve the combat in the Bendy games, so its inclusion here is most welcome and I can't wait to try it out. You'll also notice that much like Audrey in Dark Revival, Henry is now fully modelled, and we can even see he is wearing his wedding ring. Longtime fans will remember that Henry Stein had a wife back in the real world, a woman named Linda. Someone his Ink Machine counterpart now misses dearly. So this is a nice little detail, especially for longtime fans. And with that, we've covered just about everything relating to Bendy the Cage released thus far. I'll be sure to keep you up to date with future news and info drops all the way up to the game's launch. And of course, we will be covering Bendy the Cage with a full playthrough and the usual story explained video when it drops later this year. But for now, let me know what you think of the Cage in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and of course subscribe for more horror related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.